Welcome to Haxby Shed and Prostate Cancer Update 2. It's June 2022 and it's good news. But actually, even though it's good news, I still feel a little bit tense about it. I'm not planning to edit this video. I'm going to try and do it in one take. If I stumble a little bit, please just go with it, okay? So, just to recap very briefly, last May I had a routine health check. I had my PSA checked and my prostate-specific antigen was reading 10.4. And that meant that I had an urgent referral to get checked out. So I went to see a consultant. He sent me for an MRI scan. The MRI scan looked a bit risky. Sent me for a biopsy, and actually, lucky for me, the biopsy was quite favourable. But just to be sure, I had another biopsy, and that confirmed the results of the first. So it was a very tense time, but by the time I'd had the second biopsy, I knew that I wasn't, in danger, in any sort of immediate danger. So I went onto a regime called active monitoring, and I came back for another test, blood test, in January, I think it was. So that was about 5 months ago, and that was reading 10.3. So the specialist, the consultant said, yeah, okay, that's good. There's no change, so that means it's stable. But you can come back in June, this month actually, and we'll check it again and see where you are. And I had the test, and my PSA was 9.3. So it had gone down from a 10.4 to 9.3 over the space of the year. Now that doesn't mean that I'm getting better. It just means that I'm not getting worse, that it's stable. But he asked me to have a second MRI, and the second MRI scan has come back and said everything's the same, no change. So, diagnosis, stable, and my cancer's not aggressive. If you keep up with these things, it's a Gleason score of 6, which is a non-aggressive type. Anyway, so as I was speaking to my consultant, I said, well, do you know what? Although there's no requirement, it seems, for me to have any kind of surgery or radiotherapy, there are these new treatments coming along. One is called nanoknife, or sometimes it's called that, and that's like an electrical pulse that kills the cancer. Or there's HIFU, which is an ultrasonic burst that kills the cancer. And these, I am told, remember I'm not medical in any way, but I'm told that they have little to no side effects, whereas radiotherapy can. And certainly having your prostate removed certainly does have side effects. So I said to my consultant, do you mind if I effectively get a second opinion, but if I investigate whether or not I could have HIFU or nanoknife? And he said, no, I don't mind at all. Where I live here in York in the UK, they don't offer those treatments on the NHS. They're just beginning to come onto the NHS, the National Health Service, but you really need to be in London or something like that. But I do have insurance, so I made an investigation to have that done privately if it was justified, required. I had this idea, well, even though my cancer doesn't seem to be, what's the right word, dangerous, if I could get rid of it with just one zap, one treatment, as a day patient, why wouldn't you do it? So, I got in touch with a clinic run by a guy called Professor Mark Emberton, who works in the NHS and privately. In the NHS, he works for University College London Hospitals. And I sent the information, so in other words, 2 MRI reports, 2 biopsy reports, and asked him to review it. And I didn't know what the response would be. It could be anything, couldn't it? But he said, yeah, I'll have a look at this. And I've just received a letter from him to tell me the results. So I hope you don't mind if I read it out, because I want to get it right. It said, we would not normally treat a tiny amount of Gleason 6, that's 3 plus 3 if you follow these things, limited to one core on one side of the prostate, as this is an entity that does not spread and poses little if any risk to you. Well, I trusted my consultant anyway, And he said, you don't need any treatment, mate. I think you'll be okay. And I'd say, well, are you sure? And he said, well, no, of course I'm not sure. Because the only way I can be sure is to take your prostate out, cut it up in slices, put it under a microscope, and then I'll tell you if I'm sure. But in all probability, this isn't going to spread. It isn't going to kill you. In all probability, something else will get you, heart attack, run over by a bus or whatever. But to get that from, the eminent professor is super reassuring. And I'm really grateful to my consultant who said, look, if it puts your mind at rest, get in touch with the professor, Mark Emberton, and see what he says. He didn't display any pride or anything. Don't you trust me? Don't you trust me? Isn't my word good enough for you? No, there was none of that. He just said, if you want to do that, let's do it. Anyway, so the letter's just come in, and it's not a guarantee, but it means that I'm more likely as not never to be affected by it, other than just having the blood test probably every 6 months and maybe a biopsy every couple of years. So, I'm almost in that situation, like a lot of people, where it'd be better if I didn't know at all, because it's not affecting me in any way. But if that crosses your mind, if you've got any sort of symptoms or concerns, if that crosses your mind, oh, well, it's going to be mild, like, Paul's got, I don't need to know. Well, that would be wrong. Even without any medical knowledge, I can tell you that would be wrong. Because some people can have very significant prostate cancer and their PSA is very low. And you don't know until you know, okay? So I just got to say, don't be thinking that. Most people end up on the lucky side of the equation and you'll end up like me, but some people don't. And they've got to have treatment or the prostate removed. So there might never be a prostate cancer update 3, simply because I may not have anything to say. I'm not going to report every 6 months. I think you can take it then from now on. I'll just have my test every 6 months. And as long as it's not going up or not going up by much, then that'll be it. And maybe I'll be one of the lucky ones. Well, I hope that worked. Thank you for watching. Oh, this by the way. Ooh, yeah, I got a plan for this, but you'll have to wait to find out. I hope that was useful to somebody. Thanks for watching. Hacks be shared.